Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the question today that we're going to be trying to answer is where to next. And today the dollar did something very interesting that it has not done for almost probably a year and a half, almost coming up on the anniversary for the half year. And that is break the $100 level. The dollar has basically stayed above this level for a very long time. So what does that actually mean? What does that mean for my stocks? What does it mean for everything? Well, as simply put, it's a psychological barrier that the dollar should have bounced at. We currently, you can hypothesize, could be bouncing on this node right here of volume that was previous, but again, that's not necessarily where you want to be, because once you break that, coming down to about 97, or 95 is pretty simplistic. Now, the bottom of where I believe the dollar is going to is as simple as a chart can be. The 200-week moving average, that's where it's probably going. $98 for the dollar. No pun intended there, but basically the dollar is weakening because it is a basket of currencies weighed against the Dixie, and the euro is going to keep raising rates more aggressively than us, so therefore the euro is more valued or harder to get, and that actually puts upward pressure on the market. Now we're going to dive in to some of the leaders. We talked about this, and I did say, and I warned you guys yesterday on the live stream, that we basically were going to get a rip your face off rally, possibly to the upside. I do see 1% day, and lo and behold, the S&P came and delivered. So the S&P 500 actually pushed double gap. So not only do we have, which theoretically the 1-2 gaps, I'm also considering this area that we didn't really necessarily fill out completely with a lot of volume, a third hypothetical gap, but at least we have 2 consecutive gaps. We did not fill either of them, and basically we came back to the high of this candle on the previous day and rotated right back above it. We're going to go to the 15 minutes so you can see that more clearly, and I'm going to snap a line to where we had the area previously, and as you can see here, we barely touched it, and boom town baby, go to new highs and keep pushing, squeezing out more bears. And the question I had for you guys is, do you think these bears have capitulated? And we're going to find out today. If you guys want to wait for the weekend deep dive, tomorrow we'll be covering that. You'll see the net speculative positions. Or if you want to go into investing.com, you can basically go to the weekend calendar and find that piece in there and see at 4:30 today if they capitulated out or are they still holding. I have a sneaky suspicion that they are capitulating. Probably we're going to see maybe 150,000 K, barely 50,000 bear reduction, because honestly, this is a pretty painful trade. If we go to the daily, just looking at volume on the day, it wasn't pretty spectacular, let's say, in this latest push, but again, we're pushing higher with higher volume, so it is promising. Now, the banks do report, and we will be covering the 3 banks in this video that report tomorrow, just kind of giving you the plus minus on where I see this going. But we're first going to dive over to the S&P on the Lux algo. So again, we are pounding our head in a reversal zone. So would I be longing the market right now? No, I'd be kind of waiting to see what it does. I do believe it has one last push in it. You did have that buy signal here that I participated off of, and that's what I use for entering the market or going bullish or bearish, is basically these signals here. Bearish, bullish, and you just follow suit. You gotta have a little bit of tact to understand which way the market's going, but this is like your confirmation signal. MACD cross, RSI cross, we haven't actually stalled out completely on the RSI. We haven't even got into overbought territory yet. So we definitely have, I'm gonna say, about 1% left in the market before I'd be looking to trim my position significantly. And why am I saying that? Because the last time we had a big run like this, next 2-3 days, pounded the reversal zone, I definitely see us going to possibly that 455, 454. So we have to be careful once we get up there. We're basically right at 450 post market. And again, that is a big psychological area that we basically are hitting. 450.38 was the high of the day. So we're basically pounding this area of psychological resistance that you're expected to pile through. Again, we have bank earnings, could be buy the rumor, sell the news type of event where we're going to go down possibly. And speaking of the banks, I'm quickly just going to jump over to the NASDAQ and then the banks. So NASDAQ, similar story, pounding above the weekly range, rotating off and gapping actually above before we broke down to the bear market. So this is an area that is a big meaningful area. 375 was an area I was looking to break, which now you can possibly say you're gonna get the rotation to even the possibility of all-time highs. So market's not far off from that, but then again, I don't think the carnage that from, like we saw on the live stream, the banking sector is done yet. We're going to get a pretty massive insight to it very shortly with JP Morgan, Citi, and Wells Fargo all reporting today. At the time of making this video, they're not out yet, but when you guys see this, they will have reported, and we will see what the stocks are doing because this video go right before market open. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go take a look at what those banks did. It'll pretty much give you a big insight of how the rest of the earnings season is really going to go, but it's expected to be a bullish run on those banks. So again, we have the MACD crossing or trying to cross on the Qs, which I did say that once these bigger leaders like Apple are going to start leading, which they haven't actually done yet. Apple is pretty having an anemic kind of consolidation in this area. You got Microsoft, same story, starting to push out of this consolidation, but not fully. Google pounding away, but again, still not making those higher highs. Amazon had pretty bullish news today, so it pushed to new 52-week highs, and the MACD looks like it wants to cross, so definitely want to be looking at Amazon. I know the 200 weekly moving average is sitting right around here, so again, we got to pay attention to that. It's a pretty bullish cross on top of the MACD. Looks like it wants to cross. Has not crossed yet, guys. So we are not necessarily in a trending market yet, and we just have to keep in mind. NVIDIA just making new all-time highs. Semiconductors, there's no stopping this. But then again, are you going to get your $11 billion, or are you going to see a Facebook? And for those that know exactly what I'm referring to, when Facebook lost nearly 36% of its value overnight, one of the biggest historical losses in history. And is NVIDIA setting up to basically hold my beer moment when earnings come out? I don't know. But if it keeps pushing like this, then I'm definitely going to be buying some puts far out of the money for that event on the off chance that, hey, $1 put turns into $2,000 per contract. So again, you know, things you can play around with. But before I digress, let's jump over to the banks, which you guys have been waiting to see. So JP Morgan pushing like no tomorrow, hitting a resistance area, reversal zone here. And again, if we go back to the price action, we don't have a lot in this area. This was a pretty big drop from the 159 all the way to 150. Break 150 on earnings tomorrow. I think you definitely could push higher regardless of the zone. We could see a massive gap on JP Morgan tomorrow, especially because it is going to have pretty bullish earnings, or that's the perception of it. We could see a nice push up. What I don't like, guys, though, on JP Morgan, and this is the one reason I did not play JP Morgan's earnings, I did last time on the call side, is that this definitely has a lot of consolidation, not really strong strength move here. So I'm thinking it could be possibly a fake out where pop the top and then sell down lower. I wasn't really confident in this move. I don't like buying companies' bullishness as it's running into earnings. It just has a bad feeling for me. That's just personally how I do it. But then again, everyone's risk to reward is different. Next, we're going to go to Citi. This is one that I would actually think about buying. And the reason I didn't is because I really didn't have time today to play the banks, and I didn't pay attention to Citi so much. I was mainly paying attention to JP Morgan, but you know, more opportunities to come. Right now, Citi's basically been in this consolidation. So for me, if I was looking at it to play it, I'll look at the earnings, see if he can fill this gap down here. And then if you get the rotation upwards, it's an easy push probably to that $52 region where I see the first resistance point being tested. But if we get the rotation on the downside, you play the downside. As basically play the charts how they are. And last but not least, the stinkiest bank of them all, Wells Fargo. And this bank basically, I just don't like this bank. I don't like Wells Fargo's business dealings. I don't like it as a bank. But I really don't care. If I don't like it a bank, you don't care. You care about where it's going to go. And the simplest line that I can draw for you guys is you stay above this line. You're bullish on Wells Fargo. Right now you got a reversal on the smart money flow that is telling me that smart money's been selling into earnings. Okay, that looks bearish for Wells Fargo. And if we get a bearish rotation, we could get that, or we could get the reversal because it's been weakening. As you can see here, you're starting to weaken this selling. You're not really in the trending market down selling. You just have smart money basically saying, hey, we're gonna like calm down. And as you can see here, they were selling into earnings and basically continue selling it off past earnings because they kind of know stuff that we don't, or just follow what they're doing. So right now they were selling into earnings. They haven't really sold a lot comparative to historical levels. So I do see the bullish rotation that Wells Fargo could present. And just to give you guys the recap of JP Morgan starting to get into the bullish trending market, so I expect a rotation to the upside on that, and same way with Citibank as well. So again, JP Morgan, Citi, I'd be looking for those levels of positivity. On Wells Fargo, maybe a more riskier play, but definitely higher return possibly. And basically looking right here on Citi, $48 bullish side. JP Morgan, I was basically telling you 150, and then Wells Fargo break this trend line. And then obviously if none of those things come to fruition, you start getting rotation to the downside. It's pretty much simple as possible. You start basically selling possibly the banks, shorting them, or looking for a dip buying opportunity. Depending what they say, I would say you need the dip buying opportunity because, again, it really depends what they say for their future. If they basically give you beat on revenue, good forward guidance, we see nothing really coming per se. Again, wait for the language of the earnings call and then basically determine your action plan from there. So again, that's what I got for you guys today and what I think is coming next. I definitely think there's more bear fuel in the market ahead because you have not capitulated all the bears out. And again, we're going to be covering the banks tonight, so stay tuned for that, guys. And we'll be doing the weekend deep dive on Saturday. So you get the key levels, kind of our own thoughts on the market as a general, along with any news catalysts that are coming our way. We're definitely going to be looking at some of the more regional bank ETFs that are going to be reporting this week, along with like PacWest, Western Alliance, and Valley. Those are going to be some that we're going to have on deck for the following week, and looking at their earnings along with this crazy earnings season. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday.